Welcome back to MSI 2023. Ben calling his shots. But here we go. Puma responding in kind, the 3-2. Confidence on the side of T1. I saw a sign earlier in the crowd that said T1 defy all odds. Well, this is the chance. This is as far down as you can go in this tournament.
Yeah, it has to be right now for T1. They've got to switch it up here, both in draft and in play. The top lane replay of Zeus, I'm still boggled at what went on there. Got to turn brain on. Let's go.
Yeah, but I'm curious as to see what we get as that adjustment in draft, right? Because it feels like when you look at T1, they're still getting a lot of what they wanted. We talked about like the Rakan and the Xayah in game number 1. This has been a huge one for Gumayush and Carrier, but they couldn't quite get it across the line. Even then coming into this next game, they get their hands on the Maokai, which can be such a good setup, but they still don't see that one coming to fruition for them.
It was such a good Silas angle in answering that. You know, give up the Maokai because of a big, powerful ultimate, being able to pull back the Silas. T1 aren't going to let it happen, though.
T1 uninterested in high-tier junglers making it through the draft. They'll triple ban that role. The Jinx going to get banned out here. BLG mixing it up. This is big for T1 because I think you can anticipate maybe trading here in the final game, but now you have to decide which of the remaining 80 carries do you want to prioritize. But there's the Cassante. Slipped my mind, and there it is, finally slipping through the bans.
Instant lock here. Ben doesn't care. Slam that Gwen down. Ooh, love it. Carry on top side here for Ben again, and it can team fight.
And I love the Lulu pick as well, because you know that's either Xayah, Rakan, Zeri, Lulu, at least from what we've traditionally seen here. So the fact you end up taking the Lulu means that you don't really want to take the Zeri away, so you're going to more than likely go back towards the Xayah Rakan.
Yeah, they're all smiles over there. Elka's like, yeah, last time I got to play Zeri with a Lulu pocket and 3 cleanses and Annie shields and Lulu shields all over the place. Still is probably going to be supportive mid laners, but the Annie, of course, is banned. Then he dropped down to like the Lissandras.
So no surprise to see immediately the Zeri picked up. Cassante coming in very early in the draft, still a flex, see where it goes. Ben very confidently kind of pseudo-blinding the Gwen, comfortable in that match, comfortable with whatever else will come through, and we'll see now what they want to ban away, if it's top laners or if it's mid laners to set up a better matchup.
I think it might be junglers. Because, oh, well, maybe not the case, because I was going to say, when you look at it, if you already have Vi, Wukong, and this Maokai banned away, you can probably take the Sejuani for Shun there, and then it's like, okay, well, what are you going to go to? What's kind of bottom of the barrel there that you want to try and pick up? Maybe Shun feels comfortable going back towards the Kindred, but you're definitely starting to crest into even things like Owner going back towards the Nocturne or Kha'Zix or something along these lines.
Yeah, I think you have to give so much respect to the FLICKR Cassante swap after that was by far his best game versus JDG. Looked so insane with that in mid lane. So they're going to cover their bases here, ban out the Talia.
Making sure that they do not have the extra tools to protect Elk on the backside. The Talia pick that has been a bit hit or miss, but Yagao, the one really prioritizing in these drafts, is an extra form of protection for Elk so often, as well as a roaming tool. Now, Kennen hitting the bench. I wonder if another top laner will be picked up as well. It's going to be the Gragas. Okay, so really respecting the potential for that.
So do they want to ban the Nautilus or the Ahri then, I guess, if you're still looking at mid lane? Because the setup power with that Nautilus would be quite big for Yagao as well.
I mean, it's kind of tricky, right? Because ultimately, if you go for the Ahri here, it's so easy to immediately swap that Cassante mid lane. Instead, they're going to take the Scion away.
And I think that's the big problem, is that oftentimes you've seen Cassante come in as an answer to the Nautilus so well, where you're able to match a lot of the push. You just end up as a beefier, tankier front line, and then the value that you get from this Nautilus, oftentimes the mid lane just starts to disappear. So I like the call from T1 saying, hey, look, if you just take it, Cassante goes mid, but maybe they don't really care. As you can see, it was hover for a split second there, but it looks like they're going to take that jungler for Shun instead first.
Holding my breath here. Shun, obviously a big Nidalee player, but it hasn't been the most successful pick at this tournament thus far. So option to pick up the Kindred. We are direly low on CC on the side of BLG. So many great engage tools from the side of T1. BLG lacking really any hard CC or setup. And it does mean that you're probably going to see Yagao go towards something like Lissandra or something along those lines to try and provide that setup. Nautilus could also work in that situation, right, to try and be that front line. But I have to say, for BLG, bit of an unusual one. I'm not the biggest fan of what they decided to go for here, and especially as the Kha'Zix now comes out as well. You do a phenomenal setup for this Kha'Zix to try and get into the face of the Kindred and assassinate her in the jungle. Top 4 here. The Ahri is still on the table, and a lot of the conventional answers into it have been taken away. Jax, Camille, the hover-overs, the call-out. Zeus feeling confident in the 1v1. He was pretty consistent going ahead early on, and there's the Jax against the Jax master himself, but the Galio.
Oh.
An excellent synergy pick in
Yes.
terms of the Kindred. A lot of tools to stop people from getting onto your backline. Taunt is such an oppressive ability against so many divers.
I mean, this was massive for Yagao across their regular split. An 80% win rate in the regular split, and we even got to see it a little bit in playoffs. Like, both the Veigar and the Galio were his two standout picks in his pool, and we are going to get to see it. So BLG going back towards a style that was very comfortable for them domestically.
Oh, and I always love to see Galio plus Kindred combinations here. Yagao has been so good in this setup meta now where everyone underestimated him as a mid laner. See what he can perform early on with.
Certainly pressure, though. Into the Cassante, not always going to be super comfortable. Might just want to clear the wave and walk away. T1 a lot of tools to potentially break open in this early game. The only CC source that's reliable for the side of BLG is the Galio. It's going to be huge for Yagao. He needs to make sure that he's performing in this game. It's pretty much all on him to set these fights up or stop these fights if T1 want to pull the trigger.
And I think that's the thing. T1 definitely want to try and all jump in on top of you, right? A very short-range composition. But the thing is, a lot of us, when you look at the setup here for BLGs, you don't really have the range to take full advantage of it. Yes, you got the double AD carry, but it still feels like a huge amount of this is going to be a case of, can we spread out these fights? Can we buy space for the double AD carry in the back line? And if you actually find T1 out of position, trying to jump on them is going to be so difficult to do.
Lot of counter engage there for BLG. Kindred ultimate, Galio ultimate, peeling back with Lulu. T1 have to be very, very particular with their engages, and especially Keria. A lot riding on Keria's shoulders here with the Rakan. Oftentimes it can be super hard to play that champion into teams that have so much counter engage. Being squishy, possibility of those counter kills.
And to all the T1 fans watching this, if you believe in them, they need to hear you now. Their backs are against the wall. It is do or die.
When I think of T1 though, and when I think of Cassante for FLICKR, this has been when they've had their standout moments. This has been where FLICKR has been able to pop off, step forward, and be that veteran on this T1 roster. Make sure that he is driving T1 forward. And here against BLG once more, it feels like it's going to be resting on his shoulders. See if he can get control with this top side. Very scrappy, very heavy skirmish top side. And I expect to see a lot of that coming where T1 try and look for these invades. See if they can get on towards Shun and support Owner in his endeavor to shut down this Kindred.
And the odds just continue to stack against them. Been 12-1 on this Gwen on the international stage. 3 of those wins were versus T1 at MSI finals last year. Whatever happens in the lane, they have to take Bin out of the equation. They have to shut BLG down.
Top lane carry matchups here. Zeus versus Bin. This is what a lot of people love to see. Can Zeus bounce back after his mishap in the previous game? Raptor start for Shun on the Kindred. Will be able to get his red buff very early on. Yep, Yagao goes top. They want this Gwen into Cassante. They want the Gwen into Cassante so much more.
It does mean that you don't get full value from Yagao's ultimate though when he does hit 6. So I'm curious to see if they do end up swapping back a little bit to make sure that they're going to be safe. But in general, Galio should be relatively safe up in this top side and going to be able to get away from some of this. But
Already action on the bottom side. Knight coming out early from Keria, just trying to get a bit of extra advantage. Ghost now being popped by Elk. They're trying to poke back, hoping to get at least a summoner back for Guma, but Guma standing strong.
Nice little zigzag there. Pops the Ghost for the move speed for the jukes.
BLG do end up winning out though. Both summoner spells burned on support and AD carry, and you can also see just the health trade as well. So BLG still managing to get decent push and not a huge amount wasted as Yagao. There you go, gets the knock up, and this is what they're going to say. A lot of it is going to be a case of you being able to dismantle a lot of Zeus trying to go in, as you can try and walk away. Even just stuff like if you're looking at a dive, being able to tank so much of that with that W. And Bane at the moment getting a hell of a good time against this Cassante.
We're spotted out now by Shun. They're buff on both sides, going to pop in. Leap over the wall to take Owner out to safety. Shun, does he want to keep this one going? Has the reset. He's just going to contest here on the bottom side. Potentially setting up for a bot lane dive. They've already got the Ignite and the Ghost out of Guma. Still both flashes up and available, however. And Shun just on the hunt here. Owner not going to spot him out there.
I like the pressure here, forcing Owner to come shadow.
Shun over the wall, just laying down a bit of damage, making sure the jungler cannot help.
So good. Shun playing off his bottom side, pressuring under tower, forces jungler.
Taking the time, Glitter Lane's going to hit 2. Trying to isolate and shut down the T1 bottom lane. 3 minutes into the game. High stakes potential dive situation here. T1 desperately trying to clear the wave. Kha'Zix on the backside, ready to mark them. Snare already coming through. Guma won't have that cooldown for the next few seconds. but they cleared enough of the wave that BLG do not pull the trigger on the dive.
And this pressure is so good for BLG, just mirroring jungles and waiting for Scuttle Crab spawns. It's a bottom side Scuttle Crab with the mark as well for Shun.
In the mid lane.
In addition to denying those minions on bottom side, look at the Xayah already, again, falling behind in minions.
Owner's reset though, and Shun knows that he's moving back down. Bin onto FLICKR in the mid, but bot lane, the repeat dive is around.
Just continuing to outtrade in the mid lane. Guma now going to be in trouble. Carry has to do everything he can to protect his AD carry, but it might not be enough. Guma taking out the dive clean this time. They won't fumble it again. Elk going to walk away, blinking, but still standing.
Really good stuff there by On Lulu. Hits him with the polymorph, tanks tower, flashes out, secures the kill for the team. Gives it to the Kindred. I honestly even like that more than giving it.
Waiting to see if Bin wants to go for it. 4 stacks of the snip. Owner now coming in. Maybe can punish Bin for playing so aggressively in the mid lane.
Bin's got flash too.
Bin just a quick dash out to safety. A bit of poke to even up the lane matchup, but right now everything going in the favor of BLG. 800 gold in their favor at this stage of the game already.
But the thing is, Owner hasn't got to clear his top side at all this entire game. Same when you kind of look across at Shun, so much of that focus has been on that bottom side of the map that we're not seeing a huge amount of CS picked up. And for Owner, that's going to end up setting him behind because he needs to be in a position where he's in the lead. Look, Kindred is the same. You want this AD carry to be pumping out damage, but at least you get value from that Lamb's respite. You get value from the kill he's managed to pick up. But Owner's been trying to just keep T1 in check, and as a result is starting to fall behind the rest of the game.
Yeah, and that's why I really like the Kindred actually getting that kill there. Pickaxe right back out onto the map. He gets to move that advantage around.
Knock up there though. Clean immediate fall off the snare. Now going to come back. Guma and Carry fighting back, finding a kill on the bottom side. A clean pickoff.
That is much needed for T1. Big stuff there. Gold going into Gumayushi, helping him catch right back up.
Crucial that they're able to find those avenues, especially with how difficult mid lane was going early on in the game. FLICKR now feeling a bit more comfortable. Wandering out of lane as he has a brief moment where the wave is pushed in, can clear out some of this vision, take a bit more control on the top side. We check in, of course, the Galio. Can try and trade against the Jax, but will not have an all-in threat here. Is just set up there to survive, see when they can actually enable Yagao to free up on the map, as you mentioned earlier, Dagda. Now Shun uncontested as he starts the Infernal Drake.
Yep. They should be able to pick up this objective. We do have the support recalls, though, so Carry is back out on the map, going to come over, pop the Scryer's Bloom. Nice little window, though, of course, T1. Nice punishment on. They know he didn't have flash. Owner positioning for another steal. Blast cone in, jump out.
For an angle. Desperate to take this one away, and he gets it!
God.
Every time!
Damn, that feels so good as a jungler. He's in his head. You are mine. Another smite steal for Owner.
I mean, at what point do we take the title away from Dandy? Win as Owner, the new Prince of Thieves, as he finds yet another objective steal in this game. FLICKR now moving up to the top lane. Ulti available as well. Yagao has to be careful to survive here. Trying to clear the wave, trying to delete it as quickly as he can.
Just Galio things.
Yeah. Walk up, big AoE auto, clears it out.
Yeah, as you said, he went after shock brome plating. Yagao's just looking to hold up there, but bottom side
on cut out again. Elk not able to do anything here on the bottom side. Guma finding another kill.
This is huge for T1. Guma and Carey are clawing their way back into this bottom side now with 2 kills on towards the Xayah. It's absolutely massive, and so much of that stemming from the fact they didn't have to invest time into taking the dragon. They steal it away. Now they get pressure top, they get pressure on bot, and T1 are fighting back.
They're so good at identifying. The only opening on the map for them, there it is, in 613, right as that tick of damage, able to get it. But they're so good at identifying the only opening there. He just pulled off a tower dive on us and he flashed out. Okay, we're going to punish him for it over and over. Carry a lockup, blade caller from Guma. Owner even goes down there, and that's back-to-back plays to punish that offensively blown flash.
It's also the fact that Carey is coming completely out of vision every time he's going on to him. He can't get polymorphed as he's coming through because he's just moving too quickly, so On isn't getting that opportunity to try and disengage. So really good stuff from T1's bottom lane and just setting themselves up now for the first time really having, well, I'll say the kill advantage. Still a good bit of that CS lead is going across towards Elk at the moment, though.
Certainly is. Something to keep track of as we get later in the game, these first item spikes especially. Herald now spawned and available, see which side wants to force for it. You see Ping is coming down onto it from Shun. T1 and the Xayah Rakan, we were promised that this is a duo that you cannot give them. BLG managed to beat it in game 1, but game 2 off to an incredibly good start for the T1 bottom lane.
Now I want to see if BLG can try and use this for the Rift Herald. A lot of their combo relying on the fact that Yago is now hit level 6. Bin has control over that mid lane as well. And even Elkanon, you can see starting to get pushed in the spot side. Will actually spot out Keria. FLICKR isn't in a position to really follow up here.
Knock up, flashed out immediately.
I like this fight because as long as BLG keep the bottom lanes from roaming, there is an advantage for them on the top side. Yagao trying to push out.
Taunt gonna land. Bin, is he ready to go back in? Shun now trying to make it out over the wall, trying to get in and grab the Eye of the Herald. Now immediately going to throw down the Lamb's Respite. The Galio coming in. Zeus has a brief moment to try to make it out of this one. The stun coming in from Zeus is massive. They find 3. FLICKR isolates Bin in the follow-up. FLICKR going all out on the top side. He will look to take down Bin. Bin flat, but he's pulled back. And from over the wall, FLICKR finds the kill. But here is Elk. Elk looking to reset. Elk looking to find the fight, but there is no fight left for BLG. Elk, though, continuing to defy expectations, leaping out over the wall. Keria ready to follow. Keria ready to respond. The red buff, will it be enough? Belk finally taken down as Keria takes the kill.
And in game 3, T1 are coming alive. They find the fight in the pit. They managed to get the kills on BLG, and BLG left scrambling in this one. They see the engage onto FLICKR, but Shun under so much pressure from Zeus, they all try to fall back. But the problem is, they invest everything while this Lamb's Respite is still up. Zeus doesn't go down. Incredible flash forward there to stun all 3 members and set up for T1 on that top side. Elk does manage to come in and get himself a double kill as they manage to rotate faster, but as T1's bot lane matches, that's where it's fall apart for BLG.
Yeah, you can see the split second in the shot calling change on the side of BLG. Keria here does get a little bit of chunk damage onto Shun.
Wonder now coming in. Shun needs to make his way out as quickly as he can. Q over the wall, on waiting over the wall. They will not opt to follow up, but a lot of damage down onto that Kindred. The gold neck and neck, 300 advantage to T1, but the Herald to the side of BLG.
But we saw that moment when the shot calling changed. Shun was like, you know what? Herald, boom, I got it. I'm going to leave now, not stick around for that eyeball. But then they made the call. Our bottom lane is leading on the rotation up. Delay, delay. We can actually fight this slowly. And it's the tenacious chase from T1 that collects the extra kills. And as you said, the overlap there of the Galio on the Kindred ult, while Zeus was still protected.
The problem is it's fixed a lot of the problems for T1 on this top side, though. You can see there, T1 trying to leverage the fact that they have push in the spot side to now constantly invade onto Shun, make sure that he's very uncomfortable, and it's opened up Owner to finally play this 1v1 matchup a little bit more aggressive. Shun will just be spotted in mid lane a little bit, but I am curious to see how he decides to use this Herald, because with the presence that T1 now have on this bottom side as well, it becomes very difficult for him if he ever runs into Owner.
Tricky game now, T1. So many tools to start the fights off. We've seen Keria so consistent on these recon engages. So they may try to make a play on the bottom side. Double control wards, protecting BLG, protecting Elk, make sure the dive can't come through. But a second Dragon over to T1. So early in the game, they are set up to stack very cleanly to a soul.
Herald dropped mid in the response as well. FLICKR's there. They should be able to usher it up to a charge at least, though, and at least get the expected value here. It's aggroed on minions currently. Okay.
Trying to get in, hit the eye. Owner now coming in. Charge will connect. Crucial for BLG. Would have been devastating to not have that extra influx of gold.
You can see they even brought Yago down. They really wanted to make sure that they were able to get that play happen. Yago will be able to move back up towards his top side, though. Make sure he's okay. As Elk pushing in the spot side again. Just BLG trying to see if they can scramble for anything they can pick up on the map right now.
Elk trying to leverage the value of the Vampiric Scepter there in the trade. You can see him getting aggressive, willing to tank the tower overall. But on the top side of the map, Galio's life is about to get a lot more miserable. Zeus finally completing the Divine Sunderer. Going to be pretty impossible to push the Jax out of lane now.
And Elk is nursing that small lead in the bottom side on the Zeri again. BLG going to try and leverage as much possible juice into him as possible for a repeat of that one.
I think a huge amount of that is going to rely on people like Yago and Shun and how they utilize these Lamb's Respite. The first combo didn't work out so hot for them in the Rift Herald pit, so I want to see kind of a slower approach to it where you are on the same page. If you can get it done, it does make it very hard for people like Owner or Zeus to get value, but if FLICKR is able to drag you out of these ultimates, make sure that you're in a much better spot, that's where T1 can really thrive. Even the fact that Kumayushi can play so far forward with this Featherstorm as well, you have to be so careful as BLG about how you approach these fights.
Yeah, the timing they're going for is difficult. To get Galio ult to come down just after the Kindred ult explodes so that you can make use of the knockup and actually get DPS down there instead of being nullified by your own invulnerability ultimate is a hard timing to hit, but they gotta work on that.
Yep. Adapting the execution on the fly is going to be big for BLG. Again, they have the luxury of a 2-0 lead. They can afford to lose a game, but would love to close it out cleanly here. A very aggressive draft. A lot about the counterpunch. Zeus and Yagao trade back on the top side. Just casual 100 healing coming in from a Divine Sunder. That feels pretty great.
And I think that's where you're going to have to see this matchup probably change on the top side. I know it's not great for the Gwen either, in like a lot of situations, especially with the Divine Sunder already completed versus just been not having that Rift Maker completed. But you need to get access to Yagao's towards multiple side lanes. Also the fact again, I mean, Zay's just free farming up here this whole time.
Faker fishing, trying to find an angle, pulling him back into the waiting arms of Owner. Owner trying to finish the job, Ben trying to heal up, but Ben will get taken down. Owner finding the kill in the mid lane.
Big stuff for T1 to get some more money on him. He's got that lethality spike. The cheap Umbral Glaive plus serrated Dirk here. And that damage is enough. Elf gonna cruise on in to say hello to Faker and pick up the minion wave as they exit.
More resources in the back pocket of Elk, certainly, but good that they're able to slow down Ben, who was dominating at least in the 1v1 trades. Take him a little bit more slow, weaken him overall. We've seen once you get a death cap, once you get 2 or 3 items on this Gwen, she can be a team fight terror, so slowing that down is big. And across the map, you can see here, gold differences only in the bot lane and a tiny one in the jungle for the side of BLG.
Yeah, and the big leverage there for Zeus when he was able to slingshot ahead was that Rift Herald fight, where T1 tracked down those kills. Now we get the rotation, put him inside lane, Divine Sunder, Jax, keep on bottom side, rotate AD carries mid to push out the waves. And again, second Rift Herald is up and available. So rotating your vision over here.
There's not really much here that BLG can really respond with, though. As you say, like T1 have just so much control over the map. You're waiting for that Mountain Dragon that's in a minute and a half, and when you're able to have Zeus continuously push against Yagao, he's going to have amazing control, should be able to get a good amount of control over the river as well. And even when you look at Gumayushi as well, the wave clear that he has, you're just constantly getting mid and bot prio to move into river, and it makes it so hard for BLG to do anything, which is why we see Shun trying to move down towards this bot side, trying to make a play as the Rift Herald is being taken.
Yeah, they know, so they're trying to trade away, cross-map play here, but scouted out by the ward. Means it might be a little bit of extra resources here. Keria comes down to Shadow, so that there's not too much extra pressure on Zeus at that tower. Mirroring the support roam here from On, setting up that vision preemptively for the arrival of our Mountain Drake.
Good that Keria is there to cover to stop any potential dives here. BLG trading a guaranteed Herald for a potential play on the bottom side as they were a bit behind on the take, and now the T1 will have to see where they want to leverage that pressure point. If they can start to break open mid, the game gets a lot easier.
Good little mark pull here for Shun, is at 2 now as we get our resets for the Dragon. Trying to retake now for Owner, or for T1 is so difficult. They know their red quadrant of the jungle has to be littered with wards because they just saw the big power move from BLG setting up for this Dragon. And so now they're cautiously retaking this area to give them some sort of footing with which to start up this contest.
Again, though, I think you're relatively okay to do this as T1. BLG don't have the best go buttons. It's like an Everfrost or a knockup from Yagao. As you can see, I mean, Keria, in the midst of everyone on BLG, is just able to dash away. So this is where BLG need to be the ones that control the space, and already they move in to take it.
And they're doing just that. They're going to sacrifice their mid wave, and T1's going to pop the Herald to make them really pay for this.
Yagao just burned Taunt, a brief window.
Owner.
Zeus on the backside as well. Owner ready to steal yet another objective. Evolve Q, Evolve W, bit of poke coming through as BLG just tried to chase Zeus out of the pit. 5K getting lower. Now they're focusing it down. Are they just going to 50-50 at BLG? It's so difficult for them to force any kind of meaningful fight here. Keria just walking away, Guma walking away. They don't have the CC to lock down a priority target. BLG being shepherded around and now just getting knocked out of the pit immediately. T1 are going to look to blow it down, but BLG need to force the fight. Faker in the back line is doing so much work. The pullback coming through. Faker makes it out. Galio going into the pit. The Dragon to the side of T1. T1 coming alive in game 3. Zeus finding a kill. Owner untouched for now, but Elk still stands. He's trying to burn through those health bars. He's still standing. He's still alive. The heal now coming in. Owner finally going to finish the job. It's a massive fight for T1.
They stand tall. They get the Dragon and they get the kills afterwards. Yagao goes into the pit. Faker running full circle around this fight with Casante's mobility. We've seen it so many times. It's Well, it's frustrating.
What do you mean? Zeri and Kazante, it all works out well, but brilliant stuff from T1. And I think this is where you really exemplify the problems with BLG's composition, where T1 are able to hop in, hop out, shake it all about, and there's nothing that BLG are able to do in the end, because as soon as they try to go on to anyone, T1 just have that mobility and kick it away.
I want to see a FLICKR skin with the Macarena now. Absolutely.
Pokey, pokey.
Ah! Close enough! Here he goes in. FLICKR, and it looks like he's so deep, right? But he gets all four. He even gets Shun's flash as he flashes out. And then here was that re-engage. The Galio ult was already channeling, so then Yagao goes in. But guess what? His teammate's already gone. The Dragon's already gone. And so it's an overextension, another mistiming on another Galio ult, and T1 are feasting.
It's also just such a spread out fight. Like, you don't actually get BLG in a position where they're really getting, Gago at the front line, trying to provide that tank, trying to buy space, because he's looking for the flank in that position. And T1 jump, but Bin's dead!
Bin's dead! T1 finding a pick on the side lane. Carry looks like setting that up. Hard to say without the context. Had to watch Lulu die a bit horrifically there. And BLG, for the first time, not on even footing, not at a slight deficit, at a massive deficit. 3 dragons stacked against them. T1 backs against the wall, the most pressure that could possibly be on them, but they are showing up here in game 3.
And it feels like such a weird time for BLG to change the game plan, right? When you look towards, hey, look, this Kazante ban has worked out absolutely fantastic for us. FLICKR has been insane on this pick, and you're starting to see it again in this game. When you have 2 games in your advantage, to suddenly start to swap it up and change it to what has been such a difficult game plan to operate. You can see BLG now struggling, and T1 happy to just find those moments. Zeus hopping forward on towards the ward, Kerry in a great position to follow up, and the side lane control is going to T1.
And this is that other side of Bin that people are used to seeing throughout the long extended series. They finally get a pick on him in the side lane. It's not the Giga Bin, it's T1. Now with full control, 3 dragons, Dragon Soul coming imminently. Baron already arrived at the pit. And they're trying to really take control of the vision here with that Umbral Glaive, clearing everything out. They've got the Rakan, they've got the turn ability. And FLICKR, last time around, he went straight for Shun.
Makes a lot of sense, limiting the Kindred, taking her out of the equation, denying the potential for a 50-50. T1 so many tools to guarantee a secure on this Baron. BLG fishing. Taunt going to be used though, and again, this is what we've highlighted, Dego, this is what you've highlighted. They can just walk away, and BLG have no way to stop them from doing it.
Yeah, and BLG are trying their best, but as long as T1 are the one that are dictating the pace of these fights, it's so difficult for BLG to really do anything. Kerry now, as you can see, stepping up. He knows there's not a huge amount they can do. He's got the safety of Gumayushi behind him. So the team fights going the way of T1. Side lane going the way of T1. Vision control the way of T1. I do not see a way that BLG actually managed to come back from this. T1 have such a stranglehold on this game.
Absolutely, and here we go,
Looking to
Carrier.
pick things off. The taunt coming in to stop any potential follow-up. Shun now ignited. Zeus ready to go over the wall. Yagao getting chunked away, and there's Zeus with the denial coming in for Yagao. Able to find his Lamb's Respite on the backside. FLICKR now ready to move right in. He can tear them out of that Lamb's Respite in an instant. Elk trying to get out, but he goes back into the waiting arms of his team. FLICKR may have overstayed, may have overstepped his welcome. And again, BLG finds an avenue in the fight. For now, it is 1-for-1. Mid laners traded.
BLG actually stalling and delaying getting the 1-for-1 on FLICKR this time. He can't get out alive. Yagao goes down, FLICKR goes down. Mid laners off the board, but T1 still get vision control.
And they still get to move into this top side where Zeus can start to put pressure onto the tier 2. And this is where, again, BLG, they're trying so desperately to get this combo between the Kindred and the Galio to work, but T1 are playing these fights so slowly. They're never overcommitting. They're just throwing in 1 or 2 members at a time and getting the Galio low, getting Shun low, so they panic, have to blow this combo early, and it just doesn't quite work out.
And Yagao gets the Justice Punch in the air on Zeus. They then try and defend on Kindred ult. They get the heal. FLICKR jumps in. He ults while Yagao creates this big zone, this big space for BLG. And then they sacrifice 1-for-1. Nobody can cross the Galio ult. They take the Galio in exchange.
And ultimately 1-for-1, but again, T1 remain in strong control of this. Mountain Drake spawning now. This is the Soul. And BLG are just going to concede it. They don't have the tempo, they don't have the vision. They've got no tools left in the box to contest this one, so it'll just be a free Soul. 22 minutes in. Mountain Soul for T1, they can just immediately turn to the Baron.
Yeah, BLG have a very tall task trying to delay this game. They need to delay for a long period to be able to catch back up. But T1 are so good at pushing tempo, they're going to rotate right over to Baron. They've got the Umbral Glaive, they clear out the vision, they keep looking for picks. Carry ultimate is available. Carry flash is available. So if they just starve you of vision, they start the Baron, they look for the turns.
Eyes on the prize for T1. Don't need to risk anything, don't need to overforce here. Again, the disengage is really the only big threat that BLG have if T1 overcommit, so taking it slow, playing it controlled, starting this objective up. Guma and FLICKR looking to take this one down slowly but surely. Owner ready to come over the wall with the smite to secure. Zeus hovering, not quite in fog of war, as the vision is there for BLG to see exactly what he's up to. Kindred can throw down the Lamb's Respite to slow this one. Owner going over the wall, now the fight kicking off, but Carry already ready to engage on, getting lower and lower. Lamb's Respite again, getting a moment. Elk over the wall, but he's not really able to hit any priority targets. And Guma setting up the feathers in the choke. There's no angle here for BLG to fight. Forced away, blinking health bars. It's the Baron for T1.
No ultimate on Yagao. It only just come off cooldown, so T1 find that window of opportunity, jump onto BLG, and now the Baron is theirs. BLG trying to see if they can remount an offense though.
FLICKR can just ult Shun out of the pit, can deny him access, but Bin waiting over the wall as well. BLG, no, it's all or nothing. It is now or never, but the jungler taken out of the equation. Shun barely able to escape, but FLICKR secures the Baron for his team. Bin now moving in, taking out FLICKR, but BLG, there is no fight left. It is the Baron, it is the soul for the side of T1, only at the cost of FLICKR's life.
Noble sacrifice there from the T1 mid laner. FLICKR keeps the smite steal away. Even though Owner has been so good, they don't risk it. They teleport back in aggressively.
Be back on the top side. Zeus polymorphed, he can't leap in. Aggressive, but Owner's here as well. Kuma behind them. They're trying to shepherd BLG in, but they have to be careful. Yagao, Gwen now immune, Feathers now flying. Shun looking to follow up. Gumishi can just pull them back. He's got so much zone control, but it's an aggressive TP. They do not want to give BLG the chance to back and reset. Ultimately, maybe a bit too aggressive, but it doesn't cost T1 much of anything.
But they still manage to step away. BLG will do the same. Now T1 can actually start to get a lot of offensive plays down though. Zeus has still control of the side lane, but watch here. Look at the cooldown that's on the, well, we're not going to be able to see it. There's just barely a cooldown on the Galio ult, so Shun not really in a position off this fight to go for it. Actually, this is the re-engage here. But you get K'Sante going immediately onto Shun, prevents him coming over the wall, and then this is where Yagao does manage to just barely miss out, and T1 are able to run away.
T1. I mean, ever since I've gotten control in this game, they have not been giving a single inch to BLG, and yes, part of that is BLG have a limited composition in terms of what it can do, but this is the version of T1 that fans wanted to see, the one that will choke you out, that will take over in the early game and keep that ball rolling.
Yeah, honestly, the Kindred ult now is only like delaying the might of T1. They're still able to run BLG off of their own defensive cooldowns here. Even at tower, aggressive positioning.
Guma Gale Force, stopwatch now coming out. BLG just pushing back in, using so many resources just to deny the wave. They do get the Gale Force from Guma, but not a lot else.
And Owner's going to be able to 1-4 here. The jungler, Kha'Zix, with the Baron buff, easily gets secondary tower. The rest of the team forcing BLG back. Baron-empowered cannon minions slowly chunking away.
Hell continuing to step forward here, but has to be careful. A single misstep could cost him his life in the game for BLG. 2 minutes and 30 seconds till Elder is on the table. I don't think T1 have any real reason to flip it for that objective. Can just continue to press in with this Baron. 42 seconds left.
I think that Elder is kind of the last remaining opportunity for BLG. Bin launches himself into the pit. Yagao follows up. Maybe he can buy some space, but T1 may not give him that opportunity. Zeus looking for the flank, trying to see if he can get in. Owner onto Bin in the mid lane.
Bin just getting chunked out in the mid lane, firing back the snip. Here comes Elk as well. Owner just going to leap out to safety and walk away. And again, BLG, even if they find an avenue of attack, every single cooldown on T1 needs to be down for them to find a single pick or kill.
Yeah, BLG are looking 10, 15, even 20 minutes into the future here. Just trying to hold, trying to farm. T1 want to put as much pressure on them as possible. Getting these secondary towers down, increasing that gold lead, really starts to balloon down.
You have to get creative here as BLG. If you just go up into a straight up 5v5, T1 are going to take it. And the opportunity here for T1, look, the Baron buff is gone, but they're still going to put pressure on the top side, try and take that last outer structure as Bin might be cost.
The dash out to safety, able to get away from the charm as well as the knockup. Only going to cost him his ultimate, which will matter in fights to come, but I think for now just going to try to clear the wave.
All right, Rakan ultimate for Gwen ultimate here. And T1 reestablishing same game plan. Take away all vision through jungle. Keep BLG pinned inside their own territory.
So easy now, a minute left until the Elder. Most of the waves pushing. T1 laying down this deep vision that's going to make it so hard for BLG to retake. It feels all but certain to be a T1 win. BLG desperately need to find that avenue of attack, but the options are so limited.
And T1, the only reason they're being a bit slow with this magnificent lead that they have is because they need to draw BLG out into the open. Because BLG have so many defensives here under tower, there's only so much forcing you can do. Wait for the Elder Dragon, draw them out into the open. Then you have so many avenues for attacks.
The Lord Dominus Regard being completed for Elk is really nice against how beefy T1 is, but I really don't think at this stage it's going to make that much of a difference. T1, as you say, Kobe, playing this nice and slow. It's kind of like a lose-lose for BLG. You don't want to leave your base because then, as you say, T1 can jump on you, but you have to leave your base because there's 5 seconds till Elder. So you've now lost all vision control, and it gives an opportunity for T1 to continue to just play forward here.
Trying to put in the mid lane, Shun immediately going to get isolated, forced to flash out to safety, walking back the waiting arms of his team. They're really just trying to get mid control so they have an avenue to attack this Drake.
Jack's coming around for a flank too. Look at the mini-map here. Zeus is walking the long way around. Top lane, here he comes.
Here comes the engage. Carrier not going to make it over the wall, though. That's disastrous. Elk delivered into the waiting arms anyway, though. Here comes Yagao trying to knock him up. Elk still untouched. Carrier whiffs on the knockup. I think anticipation, but it's all starting to fall apart. T1 still favored in the fight. Guma continuing to lay down the feathers, but Elk is standing strong. Bin in the mid lane doing what he can to heal up against FLICKR. The flash to the side, looking for the snip. Zeus ready to go in. The stun, getting connect. Zeus finding the kill, finding the angle. T1 holding on, barreling down the mid lane. BLG may have bought themselves a moment, but that's about it.
The health bars are too low for T1 though. BLG will manage to push them back and get out of the base. T1 tried to come in on too many sides and somehow Elk manages to step away. But T1, they reset, they go to the Dragon and they will pick it up.
Yeah, that last fight was killer for T1. Bin wanted the 1v1 with Faker, but guess what? Zeus has his back, the Jax comes over, they also kill the top laner, and that means T1 take Elder. Now they've got the execution power to go for Baron. You want to double up your Uber buffs, and T1 will come knocking at your door with Elder Dragon as well as Baron. BLG, it's just too risky to fight an Elder Dragon out in the open towards Baron, so now they really have to bunker down.
And where's your ults? Shun has no Lamb's Respite, no grand entrance for Yagao. You have nothing here that can actually set you up for this team fight. And T1 are aware of it, whereas you look across, the shorter cooldowns coming in clutch now on those ultimates. You have the Elder buff, you have the ults, you have no hope for BLG.
It would take an impossible fight. T1, this should just be their victory lap. You will not be stronger than this. Massive gold lead, 10K in their favor. Double Uber buffs, the Mountain Soul. Just need to close this one out cleanly. Just need to take us to a game 4. BLG, find an angle, maybe, but it's going to require someone on T1 to overstep, to misstep if they want to come back to this one.
You don't even have like wards you can try and teleport to. You don't really have anything outside your base that you can make function. So for T1, they know they're safe. They've been doing a fantastic job keeping vision control in their favor. And now they're on to the inhibitor turrets, been looking at the tier 2.
Using the mist to clear the wave as much as he can. Cannon Minion still standing strong again. T1 slow, controlled, waiting for a misstep from BLG before they jump in. Again, they have everything that they need to end the game, but why risk it? Play it slow, play it controlled. Your back is against the wall. Giving BLG the benefit of the doubt that they can find that angle and just breaking open mid, breaking open bot, one tower at a time.
Yeah, you cannot really fight against the Elder Dragon right now. That plus Baron means T1 get inside the base. They will destroy your turrets. You just still have to bide your time. Wait for it to fall off. They're gonna bunker down behind these Nexus turrets, and here it go, T1.
3 waves coming in, 2 cannon minions, 3 cannon minions. Ready to keep this push going. T1 again, they don't need to force a fight, they can just keep poking. They can slowly but surely grind BLG out of this game. Zeus sleeping in. We'll find the stun. Traded for mobility on the side of Bin. Shun fishing for an angle, has to be careful to step forward here. 12 seconds left on the Baron, or the Elder buff rather. Maybe they can find that avenue. Maybe they can hold on for another minute or so, but that should just be about it. Immediately, Bin goes gold and buys a brief second. 3 seconds left on the Elder, but I don't think it's going to be enough time. Lamb's Respite now coming in into the back line as Zeus denying the Respite angle, but Elk still standing for now. T1 fighting, having such a good time in the base as they keep their hopes alive going into game 4.
T1 still fighting here. They stand up in game number 3. Big snowball. BLG let them have the Cassante, and Faker made them pay.
I mean, just in general, T1 stepping up massively, especially in that bottom lane. Gumayushi and Carrier getting multiple kills for themselves in the 2v2, allowing them then to play these team fights with that tankier front line. And overall, T1 this was a much needed win, not only for just the fact they would have been knocked out, but also just for the mental, making sure that you can start that comeback right here, right now.
And it's only going to get harder here. I can't imagine they get the Cassante again, but FLICKR, an incredible performance, isolating, making sure they secure these objectives. That Owner didn't have to rely on a smite steal, although he did still get one in the early game. Overall, a much, much cleaner game, and BLG maybe feeling overconfident in that draft. You can see didn't have the tools to do much of anything other than wait for T1 to make a play and respond. An incredibly difficult game. Still have the match advantage. T1 still need to win 2 in a row if they want to close this out. 1 game at a time for the squad overall, but an impressive performance in Game 3.
Yeah, it's nice not to have to rely on smite steals, but still know that Owner's got you.
Yeah.
Throw in an extra few, grab some objectives. Massive, massive stuff for him. Only 1 death on the Kazakhs too. Always feels so nice.
Just an excellent performance across the board for T1. For more on that T1 win, let's send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you so much, T1. Learning some lessons throughout this day. Also a huge Cassante, and overall it was Gumayushi that in the video we saw to break went 3-2 to the camera, and it all started in that bot lane.
Never doubted them. You know, I was very scared. But what I do want to highlight here specifically for T1, and even they are still backs against the wall, right? They're going to lose side selection. I don't think they should get Cassante again. Thank you for that one, BLG.
Hey, who knows?
I really hope they don't, because I do think that was a big problem. But what I'm happiest about is just seeing that the team looks a little bit more like themselves, right? They're still, at this point in the series, the underdog. Being able to bounce back 1 game is good, but at least they were playing aggressive, right? We saw Guma and Carrier going aggressively in the 2v2. We saw Zeus playing with confidence after a really, really rough game number 2. And those signs of life, I think, is what many T1s were hoping for after the first 2 games.
Yeah, and there's been a couple trends, I feel like, in all 3 of these games. So still, in all 3 of the games, BLG has been able to kill bot lane early.
Yep.
That's a problem that T1 still needs to fix if they want to win the series. But the second thing I'd say would be, even though we are locked in a team fight meta at MSI, the team who wins side lanes has won every game. So when Zeus's Jax can outpace the Gwen in side lanes, and that's where the Cassante comes in as well, having that flexibility from the blue side, to be able to win sides, it makes the team fighting easier because your setup is better.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say another really interesting thing. So I actually didn't mind BLG's draft. I liked it a little bit better than T1's, holistically. But one important thing is returning to the Cassante in terms of how you play. Cassante is so, first of all, he's just so strong, but also really good at isolating a carry, right? So when we talk about how BLG sometimes want to approach these team fights, it's not as much standard front to back as it is picking off people 1 by 1, separating into smaller skirmishes. Cassante actually allows FLICKR to do that within T1's team fights as well, and I think we saw that reflected. I also think that that first Drake steal from Owner is actually incredibly important, right? Because otherwise I do see a world where BLG end up, again, snowballing that kind of stacking, taking over the bot side of the map, and then they also did swap. They did do the swap where they really wanted the Gwen into Cassante mid to make sure that Bin was able to create pressure as well.
Yes, the correct priority, I feel, coming out of T1 there, and such a key to T1 success generally, and seemingly also in this series, of course, Maurits, is how Carrier is able to impact the game. And you laid it out before. You said we want to see that. We need to see that to make everything else work.
Yeah, because so much of T1 relies on Carrier's aggressive playmaking. I think his laning and his early fights were incredible. Did make some mistakes in late game team fights, but at that point the game was already run. And crucially, just both on his bot lane and in this draft, I'm just happy to see T1 play aggressive again, right? It ends up working out very well due to Carrier and the rest of his team really going in hard on this. Lulu basically has gone unpunished in every single game, and we know how much impact it can have once you get out. As Guma's very confident no matter what state of the game or in the series you're in. Really is. And it also goes back to what we're saying, right? This is the guy that has, I think, been the rock for T1 for the last year.
Yeah.
And it's good to see him playing well. He still had a bit of an oopsie towards the end of that game because it was game 2 champ select where we saw him kind of head in hands and hasn't been himself. I mean, he's the MVP of the LCK. I think sometimes the expectations for him are so high that it makes you think he needs to do these extraordinary things every game. But in a lot of cases, he just needs to do his job.
Yeah, indeed, and that goes for everyone. And it's so interesting how at the beginning of the day we talked about, T1 will be able to match and will be willing to take those fights. I do feel like they've taken a little step back and said, actually, no. Actually, we're going to be aggressive on our own terms and then try and kill the game in a safer manner because we don't trust ourselves going into these full skirmishes at all times. Is that a correct read?
I think so. I think the main difference, again, is that a T1, as we saw here, even though, again, I don't think they look like they did domestically, that is in control of a game, looks completely unrecognizable. Even though, with the big Mad Lions comeback, that's not how they played all year. And I think that's why we've really seen them struggle in this series.
Okay, you've also got a telestrator, I believe, for the huge Drake fight for T1.
And what we're going to break down here specifically is the reason why I personally don't think we're going to see the Cassante again. As we roll the clip, I want you to pay attention. Something that actually BLG have done very well is splitting up a fight into multiple sections. And what we have here is exactly that. With FLICKR pulling over Shun towards the bottom half of the fight, they have Zeus coming in for the flank. And what's really big, Zeus is Jax, right? With Counter-Strike against both the Kindred and the Zeri, you have so much threat. So as we play it on, this effectively turns into multiple tiny little fights, but FLICKR, being Cassante, is able to then get out ahead, and by the time that they actually are able to chase FLICKR off, we see the Drake is gone, Bin has gone down because the rest of T1 has been able to get him. Yagao is stuck across the wall, and because T1 still has Zeus threatening on an Elk, there isn't really an opportunity for them to get back.
Yeah, the Cassante was absolutely massive and is going to be a focus into this next draft. Now BLG is moving to the blue side. This is the same side they had in game 1 of the series, and as a reminder, they went for the Jax, Viego, Annie, Zeri, Lulu against the Gragas, Wukong, Lissandra, Zaya, Rakan, Jat.
I think the bans are what's most interesting to me. So in game 1, I'm stealing off Emily's notes. Maokai, Vi, and Kha'Zix were banned for the first pick Annie. T1 has struggled a lot against Annie. I think they're going to probably have to drop either the Maokai ban or the Kha'Zix ban. That's what I'd like to see. And I think go for the best side lane picks they can have. We've almost gone full circle. Again, we were discussing during the games how everyone was playing tank, team fighting tops, and now we're kind of back to carries. But I do really think the side lanes have been so pivotal in the series.
I also think that, as both BLG and JDG have shown, Maokai can be answered if you can try and make sure the enemy team doesn't take your Sylas away, right? That Sylas has been a pick that actually has worked incredibly well, really stifling a lot of the control and zoning that the Maokai provides.
And Emily, BLG are still on match point. We've seen that the bin factor hasn't been as big of a factor in this match as it has been yesterday. You said you didn't dislike the comp, but what would you like to see from them in order for them to book that spot in the final in the next game?
I mean, a lot of it's about execution. I'm very curious to see. I think they will ban the Cassante because they actually previously did ban it on blue side as well in that same game 1 that Jat was talking about. The thing I'm most curious about is because it's going to heavily depend on what T1 want to leave up on red side for them to first pick, and then how they use that first pick from there. So it's going to heavily depend on what T1 decide they don't want BLG to have and what kind of trading happens with OP picks there.
Gut check. Silver Scrapes, are we feeling it?
I'm feeling it.
Okay,
Yeah, no
well,
problem.
you need to feel
Easy.
it out of everyone. Jack?
I'm not that confident.
Okay.
We'll get Silver Scrapes.
Oh, we need to talk.
They
so
need
we'll
to
see.
not have their bot lane die first.
You hear it from Jat.
Then I'll be
See,
confident.
don't let that happen. Make Jat confident. I'd love to see it, but T1 stays alive to fight another game. Let's see if they can keep it up.